The screams, man, they just won't stop. I knew it was going to be bad, but I had no idea it'd be like this. The pool, that creepy-ass house that night, it all feels like some twisted nightmare. But it wasn't. It was real. Too damn real. The water, freezing like it wanted to suck the life out of you, and their screams, they're stuck in my head. I can't shake them. I hear them every time I close my eyes. Even now, I'm trembling just talking about it. It all started as a stupid reunion, nothing fancy. Jason, the guy who always had to prove he was the coolest, found this massive house on the edge of town. He said he found it through some sketchy ad online, something about a last-minute rental. It sounded too good to be true, but Jason didn't care. He just wanted a place that looked impressive. The house had been abandoned for years, or so the neighbors said. No one really knew who owned it anymore, which made it feel even more eerie. The kind of place that says old money, but also feels dead. Rumor had it that the house had once belonged to a wealthy family that mysteriously disappeared in the late 80s. No one knew exactly what happened, but some said they just vanished one night, leaving everything behind. The locals avoided the place, calling it cursed, and over time it fell into disrepair, forgotten by everyone except those foolish enough to explore its secrets. Empty rooms, walls that seemed to have eyes, and the pool. It looked brand new, like someone had just scrubbed it spotless. It was the only thing that didn't fit. Everything else was old and worn out, but that pool was pristine, like it had just been put there. Too perfect, if you ask me. It almost felt like it was daring us to come closer, to touch it, to jump in. The way the lights around it seemed to shine just a bit too brightly, almost like they wanted to blind us to what was really underneath. But we ignored all of that. We just wanted to have fun. So, there we were. Jason, me, Ryan, my girlfriend Mia, and our friends Jordan and Lena. The plan? Swim, drink, act like idiots. You know, classic reunion stuff. Jason had this story about the pool being haunted, about some girl named Emily who drowned in it back in the early 90s. She was only 16, a local kid who had snuck in one night with her friends. They said she got caught in the drain, and by the time anyone noticed, it was too late. Her parents never recovered, and some of the old-timers in town still talk about it in hushed voices. Over time, the story turned into a legend that her spirit haunts the pool, pulling anyone who dares swim too long into the depths. We laughed, but there was something in Jason's eyes. He wasn't totally kidding. He'd heard something that had him freaked. But hey, we were young, dumb, and a few beers in, so we didn't care. We even made fun of him, saying he was just trying to scare us. "Ooh, spooky ghost girl," Jordan mocked, waving his arms dramatically. It was all just a joke to us. Jordan was the first to jump in. As usual, he was the loud one, the one who always got the party going. He came up from the dive, blinking and looking confused. He said he saw someone down there, but there was nobody. We all laughed, chalking it up to the beer. But Mia grabbed my hand, her eyes wide, her skin pale. She felt it too. Something was off. She kept glancing at the water, her fingers gripping mine so tightly it hurt. I should have listened to her. But Jason kept pushing, saying it was fine, that we were just being paranoid. An hour later, things just got weirder. We had spent that hour drinking more, laughing, and playing stupid games by the poolside. Jason kept daring everyone to do cannonballs, and Jordan even tried to balance on one of the inflatable chairs, falling into the water with a big splash. But there was this underlying tension. Jordan kept glancing at the water, mumbling about a face, about eyes staring at him from beneath the surface. Mia was clinging to me tighter, her laughter sounding more forced as time went on. Lena tried to cheer him up, splashing around, being all flirty and stupid. That's when the lights around the pool flickered, and for just a second, the water turned black, like pitch black. Lena froze mid-splash, her eyes wide, and for a moment it felt like time just stopped. I swear I could feel something watching us, something waiting. Mia whispered to me, "I want to leave." But Jason, being Jason, refused to let the party die. It's just the wiring, guys. Chill out. He laughed, but it was forced. I could see the fear in his eyes, too. Jason finally got everyone to jump back in. We were just lounging by the side when Jordan screamed. Not just a yell, but a full-on blood-curdling scream. He scrambled out, his eyes wide in terror, grabbing at his leg like something had grabbed him. He swore a hand, a cold, pale hand, had pulled at him. No one believed him, no one but me. I saw it, just for a second. A pale, bony hand reaching up from the depths, pulling him down before disappearing. It was real, and it was hungry. I could feel it. But Jason? He thought it was all a joke. Quit messing around, Jordan. He even laughed. Jordan didn't. He stayed away from the water after that, eyes glued to the pool like it might come after him. He was shaking, mumbling to himself, and every time the wind rustled the surface of the water, he'd jump like he'd been shocked. And then Jason, in his infinite wisdom, decided it was a good idea to summon the ghost. Come on, let's see if it's real. He grinned, like an idiot who thought he was invincible. He wanted to prove he wasn't scared, that he was still the cool guy, even if it meant risking everything. Mia begged him to stop, but Jason just smirked. What are you scared of, Ryan? It's just a pool. He jumped in, yelling out, calling for the spirit to come out. Lena followed, laughing, but you could hear the nervousness. Jordan refused to even look at the water, and Mia clung to me, whispering for us to leave. Please, Ryan, she kept saying, her voice breaking. Something's wrong, we need to go. But Jason kept calling out, mocking the legend, splashing around like he was daring it to come for him. And then it happened. The pool water started to move, like something beneath was waking up. A ripple turned into a swirling current, growing faster, pulling at Lena. She screamed, thrashing, trying to get to the edge, but it was like the water had her. Jason tried to help, but he couldn't get close. The water wouldn't let them. It was alive, and it wanted her. The current pulled her to the center, her eyes wide with terror, her mouth open in a scream that got swallowed by the water. Jason was yelling, trying to grab her hand, but it was useless. It was like the pool had decided she was its next victim. We all watched, frozen in terror, as Lena was pulled under. Her hand slapped the surface, her scream cut off by the water, and then nothing. The water went still. Lena was gone. It was like she had never been there. The surface was calm, eerily smooth, like the pool was satisfied. It had taken what it wanted, and now it was just waiting, watching us, daring us to come closer. Panic hit like a freight train. Mia was sobbing, Jason was shaking, and Jordan, he just stared, numb. He knew, he'd felt it before. That pool wasn't just haunted, it was hungry. And we were next if we didn't get the hell out. I grabbed Mia, pulling her towards the house, but Jason refused to leave. He kept saying we had to save Lena, that we couldn't just leave her there, but it was too late. I knew it. Mia knew it. Even Jordan knew it. There was no saving Lena. The pool had her, and it wasn't going to let her go. We ran for the house, but the pool had other plans. The lights flickered, then died, plunging us into darkness. The water bubbled, like it was laughing at us, mocking our fear. I grabbed Mia, dragging her with me. But Jason jumped back in, screaming Lena's name, thinking he could save her. He disappeared beneath the water, his screams cutting off like someone flipped a switch. And then, calm. The pool just stopped. Like it hadn't swallowed two people whole, like it was satisfied, at least for now. By morning, it was like nothing had happened. The water was still. No sign of Jason or Lena. Jason's big idea of a party had cost us everything. And now, every time I close my eyes, I hear the water. It's calling me back, whispering my name, like it's not done with me yet. I see their faces in my dreams, Jason and Lena, their eyes wide, their mouths open in silent screams, trapped beneath the surface. And sometimes I think about going back, about jumping in just to see if I could bring them back. But deep down, I know the truth. The pool doesn't give back what it takes. It just waits, hungry for the next fool to dive in. Story 2. I didn't realize how deep things went that night. The way it all started, you'd think it was just another dumb party. Nothing more than kids, booze, and a pool. But when I look back, it's clear it was a nightmare that none of us would ever escape. And yeah, it all began with that stupid invite. Kevin's house sat right on the edge of town, practically in the middle of nowhere. The road leading there was narrow, with no streetlights, just endless stretches of dark fields and thick woods. The isolation was palpable. No neighbors, no passing cars, just the eerie quiet of being far from anyone who could help if things went wrong. The backyard itself was surrounded by tall, unkempt trees that swayed with every gust of wind, their shadows stretching across the lawn like twisted fingers. It felt like the kind of place where screams would just get swallowed by the emptiness. His parents had money. The kind that could buy a huge backyard with a pool and privacy so no one could hear you scream. Not that we thought we'd need it, of course. Kevin always had this weird thing about him, kind of too into the occult, you know? He was always reading about rituals, ancient spells, and ways to connect with other realms. He talked about the power of symbols, the significance of the full moon, and the idea that certain places held energy that could be tapped into. He would go on and on about how the pool wasn't just a pool, but a conduit, a way to connect to something beyond. He genuinely believed in all of it, like it was his mission to uncover secrets no one else could see. It wasn't just a hobby for him. It was like an obsession, something that drove him, made him feel like he had a purpose, like he wasn't goth or anything, but he liked to talk about rituals, spirits, and all that. We mostly ignored him. When he said it was just a pool party, we bought it, figured the guy just wanted to throw a rager and show off his creepy pool. I mean, a pool's a pool, right? How deep could it really go? Kevin had always been the weird one in our group ever since middle school. I remember one time in 8th grade when Kevin brought a jar full of dead beetles to lunch, claiming he needed them for some kind of protection spell. He said the beetles had to be buried under the full moon to keep bad spirits away. We all laughed at him, but he was dead serious. Eyes wide like he knew something we didn't. Another time, he tried to get us to sneak into the old cemetery at midnight, just to see if the rumors were true. Kevin was always chasing something beyond the ordinary, and it never stopped creeping us out. He wasn't like the rest of us. While we were playing video games or hanging out at the mall, Kevin was reading books about ancient rituals and the supernatural. He was fascinated by the idea of other realms and hidden powers. We used to think it was harmless, just another one of his quirks. I remember the time he tried to convince us to hold a seance in the school basement. Said he wanted to talk to the janitor who died there in the 80s. We all laughed it off, but Kevin, he was dead serious. That was just Kevin, always chasing something beyond the ordinary. We pulled up that night, me, Emily, my girlfriend, and our friends Jake, Tara, and Matt. Classic crew. Jake and Matt were the dumb jocks. They were already half-wasted before we even got there. Tara was hanging on to Matt, trying to keep him from doing something stupid, which, spoiler alert, never worked. The moment we walked into Kevin's backyard, I could tell something was off. There were candles set up all around the pool, flickering in the dark. It looked like he was trying way too hard to make it spooky. Kevin was grinning, welcoming everyone in like some kind of deranged host from a bad horror flick. Kevin's backyard wasn't your average suburban setup. His parents had built the house on land that used to be an old quarry. There were stories about the quarry, how it was once a bustling site in the early 1900s, supplying stone for the town's first buildings. But the workers had always complained about strange occurrences. They talked about tools disappearing, eerie echoes that didn't match their movements, and seeing shadows where there shouldn't have been any. Some even said that the quarry was cursed, that it had been a sacred site for an ancient tribe long before settlers arrived. The quarry was eventually abandoned after several mysterious accidents, and no one really knew what was buried in its depths. Kevin loved those stories. There were stories about it, how people used to go missing around there, how workers claimed they heard voices echoing from the depths when they were digging. Kevin loved those stories. He said it made his place special, like it was connected to something deeper. We all thought it was just another one of his attempts to make himself seem interesting. He'd tell us about how the quarry was supposedly cursed, how it had been a sacred site for some forgotten tribe. I never paid much attention. It all seemed like a load of crap. He said, "It's just a party. But tonight, we're gonna wake the pool." I rolled my eyes. Emily gave me a look, one of those just go along with it expressions. We'd deal with Kevin's nonsense for an hour or two, get drunk, and leave. Easy. And then Kevin started talking about the missing kid. Apparently some boy had drowned years ago, right where the pool now stood. Never found the body. Kevin had this twisted smile when he told us, like it was all part of the entertainment. "We're gonna bring him back tonight," he said, laughing. Tara shivered, but Jake, being Jake, just yelled, "Bring him back! Dude, I bet he's chilling down there with a margarita." He laughed like it was the best joke ever. I remember Kevin telling me about the kid before, back when his parents first had the pool built. He said the workers found strange carvings in the rock when they were digging out the foundation. Kevin thought it was some kind of sign. He was obsessed with the idea that the pool was more than just a pool, that it was connected to the land, to the quarry, to whatever was buried there. He'd always said the kid who drowned wasn't just a victim. He called him a guardian, like he was protecting something. I thought it was just Kevin being Kevin, spinning stories to freak us out. But that night, with the candles flickering and the air feeling heavy, I wasn't so sure anymore. The night rolled on, and things got progressively weirder. Kevin handed out candles and made us sit in a circle around the pool. I was just there for the booze, but now I was holding a candle and listening to Kevin ramble about the deep end and how we could all connect to something beyond the water. I thought it was all BS, but the air changed, like the temperature dropped or something. The water in the pool rippled without anyone touching it, and Kevin, standing at the edge, stared down like he was looking for something. Jake, being the idiot he was, decided enough was enough. "Come on, Kev, let's wake the pool," he shouted, and before anyone could stop him, he dove in. Water splashed up, hitting me in the face, and for a second, the creepy vibe lifted. It was just Jake doing Jake things, until he didn't come up. We all leaned in, waiting. The seconds ticked by. Then his head broke the surface, and he was gasping, but not in a fun, gotcha kind of way. His face was twisted with real panic. "I can't move," he gasped, his arms flailing. We all laughed. For a second, we thought he was just messing with us. But then Emily screamed. I followed her gaze and saw it. A shadow, darker than the water, moving beneath Jake. Kevin's expression didn't change. He didn't flinch, didn't yell. He just watched as Jake struggled. Emily and I grabbed Jake's arms and dragged him out of the pool. When he was out, his legs were covered in deep bloody scratches. Emily wanted to call the cops, but Kevin shook his head. "The pool won't let us leave now," he said calmly, lighting another candle. Tara started crying. Matt swore he saw something moving in the deep end. And Kevin, he just stood there lighting candles like he knew exactly what was going on. "The kid's part of the pool now," Kevin whispered. "It needs a life to stay calm." The way he said it, like he was proud of himself, made my skin crawl. We were all ready to bolt, but Kevin locked the gate. "You can't leave until it's done," he said, almost pleading. He was scared now, and that scared me even more. Whatever was happening, he believed it. And that belief had power. Power over us, over Jake, over everything. The pool was alive, hungry, and it had almost taken Jake. Jake was shaking, his eyes wide, blood still dripping from his legs. Matt lost it. He tried to break the gate, but it wouldn't budge. Kevin finally cracked. He looked at us, his eyes wild, and confessed, "It's not just a boy, it's something older, something darker. It needs us." Emily started sobbing, her voice breaking as she tried to reason with Kevin. "Please, Kevin, let us go. We won't tell anyone, I swear." But Kevin wasn't listening. His eyes were vacant, like he was somewhere else entirely. The air around us felt heavy, like the weight of the water was pressing down on us, even though we weren't in the pool. The candles flickered, their light barely piercing the darkness that seemed to be closing in. Jake stood up suddenly. His face went blank, and he started walking toward the pool again. It was like he was in a trance. We screamed for him to stop, but he didn't even look at us. He stepped into the water, and it swallowed him whole. No fight, no struggle. He was just gone. The water stilled, leaving nothing but ripples where Jake had been. Kevin dropped to his knees, mumbling some prayer or incantation. Emily grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with terror. I could feel her shaking, and I knew we had to get out of there. We ran. The gate was open. I don't know how, but I didn't question it. We just bolted, leaving Kevin there, whispering to his damn pool. We sprinted through the yard, the grass wet beneath our feet, the chill of the night air cutting through the adrenaline. I looked back once, just once, and saw Kevin standing by the edge of the pool, staring into the dark water, his lips still moving. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I knew it wasn't good. Emily pulled me harder, and we kept running, not stopping until we were out of sight of that house, out of that nightmare. We never went back. I don't know what happened to Kevin, and I don't care. The fear of what we saw that night, the way Jake just vanished without a trace, it haunted us. And maybe it was guilt too. Guilt that we ran, that we left Kevin there, that we couldn't save Jake. It was easier to pretend it never happened, to convince ourselves it was just some twisted nightmare. But deep down, we knew the truth. The pool had taken something from us, and we were too scared to ever face it again. The cops came around a couple days later asking questions about Jake, about where he'd gone. We lied. We said we didn't know. We said he must have wandered off drunk and gotten lost. They searched, but they never found anything. No body, no clues, nothing. But sometimes at night I hear the water. It's like it's calling to me, whispering my name just like it did to Jake. Emily hears it too. I see it in her eyes when she wakes up in the middle of the night, staring at nothing, her face pale and sweaty. We don't talk about it, but we both know the pool isn't done with us. It's waiting. And deep down, I know. One day, I'll have to go back. I'll have to face whatever's in that water. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's something else, but it's there, lurking in the back of my mind, whispering, pulling me closer. One day, when I'm too tired to fight it anymore, I'll go back to Kevin's house, to that pool, and I'll find out just how deep it really goes.